This ball is crushed.
You're listening to the New York Yankees Recaps podcast, where we're talking New York Yankees baseball all season long. Recaps of big games, the best home run calls, trades, rumors, and what's happening down on the farm. Every game, all season long.
Good morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, February 12th, 2020, and you should have had this day circled on your calendar for a while because today is officially the beginning of the quest for 28. Oh, those magical words that we hear every spring. Pitchers and catchers report today. You'll be seeing all sorts of clips, I'm sure, on YouTube and ESPN and MLB Network of teams arriving at their respective spring training headquarters. Yankees with duffel bags. You're going to see Garrett Cole show up today. There's already been some pictures of him working out in Yankees gear that got me hella excited. Super excited for this season. Should be a magical run, and I plan to be here with you for the entire thing every week on this podcast. Also, my YouTube channel, which is starting to blow up a bit. It's not huge. There are some accounts out there with 20,000 subscribers, but I started about a month and a half ago, and we're up to 350-something. I've been posting little documentaries, but I made the announcement last night that I'm going to do a full-season documentary where I track every game and every piece of breaking news throughout the entire season, and I'm going to kind of cut them together to create sort of a visual and audio mosaic of the 2020 season. It'll be even better if it has a happy ending with a Yankees championship parade down the Canyon of Heroes. So let's talk about this season. Obviously, it's been an exciting offseason. The Yankees got Garrett Cole. There was also some scandals among the Yankees' chief rivals, the Astros and Buzzergate, where they were found to be cheating during the 2017 season at least. And Jeff Lunau and A.J. Hinch were both banned from baseball for the 2020 season and subsequently fired. Also, the manager of the Red Sox, Alex Cora, he resigned. He was fired. He was going to be fired, so he resigned in disgrace as part of that scandal. And, we all know he went to the Red Sox in the 2018 season, and they won the World Series, and they have been implicated in various types of cheating. The report from the commissioner has not come out on that one yet, but I do look forward to it. Carlos Beltran, the Mets manager, actually had to resign before he ever managed a game with the Mets. So this has been one of the most eventful off seasons that I can remember as a Yankees fan, where not only the Yankees got stronger, but their chief rivals got worse. Some other things that you may have missed this offseason. Brett Gardner has returned to the Yankees on a one-year deal. He'll be back, and he'll probably play left field. My guess is that he'll play left, and Mike Tauchman will play center until Aaron Hicks is back. Aaron Hicks had surgery this offseason, Tommy John surgery. The hope is that he can be back sometime in June or July, but as we've seen with him before, he's kind of a slow healer. So there's no telling when he's actually going to be back. I won't hold my breath. You remember that last season, Didi Gregorius came back in late May, from his injury, but he was never quite the same, or he hasn't been since. His power was down. He just didn't look right all season. I think he hit 230-something, didn't have as much power. Ultimately left the Yankees to join the Philadelphia Phillies this offseason. So it will not surprise me if Hicks comes back and is not at full strength or does not earn the starting job in center field. He might be relegated to a backup role. He's a good guy to have off the bench. He's a switch hitter with power, and he can run, he can play defense, but it's going to take him a while to get back into the swing of things. He'll probably be in spring training. He'll be rehabbing. You won't see him play in games. You might see him appear in some minor league rehab games as early as May, but I wouldn't hold my breath if you're an Aaron Hicks fan. Another fun time of the year, for me anyway, I've been playing MLB The Show since before it was MLB The Show. I've been playing MLB the show, since it was actually called MLB Pennant Race back in 1996 on the PlayStation 1. I was 13 years old. And here I am 23, almost 24 years later, and I'll be playing MLB 20 The Show. And for the first time ever, MLB The Show is going to have full minor league rosters. There's been some videos come out of the game in beta and alpha, which are sort of the pre-final builds of a game before it goes live. And some internet sleuths who've been doing some researching have noticed that one of the streams, they do these developer streams where they talk about the different features. One of the streams says that a feature of this game will be total minor leagues. Now, that could just mean an extended single A. Back in the day, they've had 15 people on the single A roster, 25 on double A, 25 on triple A. But rosters have expanded this year, and so they probably use that as a opportunity to expand the roster options within the game. Now, for the longest time, minor league players were not available in baseball video games until they played at least one game in the major leagues. They didn't become a part of the Major League Baseball Association, the MLBPA. So there's always, in the past, there's been guys with sort of similar characteristics, but different names, different appearances, different likenesses. But it appears from some of these early streams and footage that we got that some of these minor leaguers who have not appeared in major league games they're on the roster and they look like their actual counterpart, their real life counterpart. So there's been some internet sleuths that have investigated these things and they've pointed out scoreboard backgrounds that have players listed or screen headshots, that type of thing. So really excited about that. Every year I always wait for the custom rosters to come out, where these different guys who are good at designing players and creating players in the game always create a full minor leagues set, and it comes from a website called Operation Sports. And so the rosters are titled OSFM, Operation Sports Full Minors. But it looks like this year that will not be necessary, so the game will be released with the full minor leagues intact. And I will go through on my YouTube channel and show off the roster, the ratings for every player. I'll take a look at everybody's equipment, batting stance, face, all that stuff. So that'll be fun, and it should make playing through the MLB The Show season much more entertaining this year, and it should make franchise mode much more engaging. So looking forward to that. If you pre-order MLB The Show, it comes out on March 13th of this year. So what are the major storylines headed into 2020? Obviously, the big storyline is how will Garrett Cole adjust to the New York Yankees? Traditionally, when a big-time free agent comes to New York, there's an adjustment period. We saw it even with the trade of Giancarlo Stanton. He got off to a rough start. We saw it with Giambi. We saw it with Tino Martinez. We saw it with Roger Clemens, with Randy Johnson, although he was, due to age, already in decline. But I think Garrett Cole has the type of personality where he'll be just fine, right? He's an alpha type of pitcher. He's pitched deep into the postseason the last few years. Pitched in the World Series, so he's no stranger to pressure. He wants to be a part of this team. He's been a Yankees fan forever, as he said on his sign. And so I think he's looking forward to it. I don't think he's going to be stunned by the bright lights at all. And so let's try not to boo him if he gets off to a rough start. He got off to a rough start last year, but then it clicked into place. So we'll see. I think he'll do just fine. We've got a first base battle between Luke Voit and Mike Ford. So Luke Voit was one of the Yankees' best hitters until July when he was injured. He had that sports hernia, but at the time of that injury, he was on pace for a 35 home run and 100 RBI season. Mike Ford then came in and filled in and hit 12 home runs in limited duty. So he's got that big left-handed swing. There were some photos already of him arriving into camp yesterday. He was commenting on the state of baseball and on Garrett Cole's acquisition, and he's super excited about that. But one thing I noticed about Mike Ford, he is in much better shape than he was last season. So he might have been working out in that log cabin with Luke Voit. But you could tell, Mike Ford last year, he was, what's the word? He was a bit of a chonk. CHONK. He's a big guy. He's a big fella. He likes his Captain Crunch. But it looks like this winter, he either switched to a new diet or he changed his routine because my boy is ripped. And if he comes into camp in great shape with his swing and as hard as he hits the ball, he could give Luke Voit a run for his money. Mike Ford's exit velocity last season was 91.9 miles an hour, and his hard hit percentage was 45.6. Those aren't bad. Those are pretty good, actually. His sprint speed is one of the worst in the league. I mean, he's slow. He's not a great defender, but I think he's a better defender than Luke Voit. So in 163 plate appearances, 143 at-bats, Mike Ford batted .259. Not that batting average matters that much anymore. He had a .350 on-base percentage and a .909 OPS, 12 home runs, 25 RBIs. So, I mean, he can hit. Last year, Luke Voit was in competition with Greg Bird, and Greg Bird had a good spring and then actually homered on opening day, but that was the last home run he would hit as a Yankee unless he comes back later in his career. He actually signed with the Texas Rangers this offseason. But I really think that Luke Voit and Mike Ford are going to have a great battle, and I think this is going to be fun to watch. And it won't surprise me if Mike Ford makes an impact in the bigs this year. So one of the other storylines is that Giancarlo Stanton is coming back after a year riddled with injuries. And if he has trouble staying healthy, you might see a situation where Mike Ford or Luke Voit becomes the DH with the other playing first base, and then Andujar becomes an outfielder. He's already been working out in the outfield. They've got Tauchman, Gardner, Judge out there, so they've got some good outfield options. They've got Clint Frazier, who last year stunk defensively but has that good bat. So the Yankees have a lot of roster flexibility just in case there are injuries, which is another storyline. Can the Yankees' new training staff keep these guys on the field? Last year was a major league record, 39 trips to the injured list. I'm just finally getting used to saying injured list. It took me forever to stop saying disabled list. I mean, what's wrong with saying disabled list? I mean, I get that there are disabled people, but if you are injured, you are disabled from playing baseball. You are disabled from competing. We don't need to be woke on everything in the world. Do we? Maybe we do. I don't think so. But it's the injured list now, so it is what it is. A couple more big storylines. So Luis Severino also missed a ton of time last year. He came back near the end of the season. He only pitched a couple games. I think he appeared in 3 games, and then he pitched in the postseason. Pitched pretty well, but he couldn't get deep into games because he wasn't stretched out. But a big question this year is how healthy is Luis Severino going to be? You know, he's been working hard in the offseason. The Yankees posted a video on their official YouTube channel of Severino's off-season routine. I think he's going to have a big year. And having Garrett Cole on the team now to teach him a little bit more about what he learned in Houston about pitch design, you know, the way that Garrett Cole turned from a mediocre pitcher into one of the league's best pitchers. If you can do that with Luis Severino, who was already a very good pitcher, you know, he's got a 100-mile-an-hour fastball that he can carry deep into games. He's got a nasty slider. If he can learn a better hook, you know, a curveball or a changeup or a splitter, something that, you know, he can learn from, the wizards who create these, new pitches via pitch design analytics, then Severino has a chance to be a Cy Young contender again. I mean, he's been a contender in the past, but this year he's got a real shot. Obviously, we have lost James Paxton. I did a podcast on that maybe a week ago, and he's out until at least June. Scott Boras, who is his agent, said that he might come back a little bit sooner, but of course he's going to say that. He wants to earn that money, that big contract. He saw the contract that Garrett Cole got this winter, $324 million, and he doesn't want James Paxton missing too much time and hampering his odds of getting a big contract. So we'll see what happens there. Other rotation members, obviously Masahiro Tanaka. He's been pretty consistent over the last few years. Not a great regular season pitcher, but dynamite in the postseason. I think a lot of his regular season struggles have been due to the baseball. He complained that the seams had shrunk, basically. But once he changed his grip on the split-fingered fastball, he improved dramatically. So we'll see what happens this year. We'll see what the baseball looks like. But Tanaka looked like he was in pretty good shape, too. He's already in camp. He was talking about how he felt cheated out of a World Series appearance in 2017. You might remember that Tanaka pitched fantastic that postseason against the Astros and against the Indians. Tremendous. Masahiro Tanaka. I love Masahiro Tanaka. I love watching that guy pitch. He's just so cerebral. He knows how to pitch. He just will not give in and throw you a fastball anymore. He just throws slider, splitter, slider. That was tough to say. Say that 5 times fast. Then we have Jay Happ probably in the number 4 spot. And then number 5 will be a competition between Jordan Montgomery, Davy Garcia, Luis Cessa. They might go with the opener with Chad Green a few times. We'll see how it works out. I think they'll be able to, fill the innings until Paxton is back. But I think they're going to want to be careful with Paxton. I think, you don't want to get him re-injured. He's been a fragile player for his entire career. And so they're going to really ease him in. So you might need a lot of starts out of that number 5 spot. Will not surprise me if they use the opener a few times. The bullpen is in pretty good shape. Obviously, Chapman at the back end, he is coming in with a chip on his shoulder. He didn't like getting walked off in the American League Championship Series, especially if it was a buzzer-aided home run. He's going to come back in ready to dominate. You got Zach Britton as the setup man, the primary setup man, and he was filthy last year. He switched from just throwing that sinker every time to mixing in a sort of a slurve, and that's helped him pick up more strikeouts. You've got Chad Green coming back. His numbers were not great last season, but if you remember, he got off to a very slow start and had to be sent down to AAA. But when he came back, he was dynamite. It had to do with his positioning of his hands, and it wasn't allowing him to get into the slot, the arm slot that he needs to generate that high spin rate fastball that guys swing through. So hopefully he's got that straightened out. I think you'll see him have a good year. We've got Adam Ottavino. He had a rough postseason, but had a very nice season. So the Yankees' bullpen is still the best in baseball. I feel like their lineup is probably the best in baseball. The Twins are up there. Obviously, the Astros are up there. It depends on whether or not they're getting signals or not. But then the Yankees' rotation is one of the strongest in baseball now, too. So right now, all the projection systems are saying that the Yankees are either the number 1 or number 2 team in baseball. A lot of projections are giving it to the Dodgers right now, especially since they picked up Mookie Betts. But anything can happen in baseball, like we saw last year with the Yankees' injuries. We don't know if anything like that can happen to the Dodgers. We'll see. Obviously, you don't want that to happen. So I think this is going to be a great World Series this year if the Yankees and Dodgers can both make it. And I'll still take the Yankees because I think the Yankees' pitching is better than the Dodgers' pitching. Even though that the Dodgers have Clayton Kershaw, he's nearing the end of his dominance. He hasn't been as good the last few years. And especially in the postseason, he gets pummeled. So, and the Dodgers have David Price, who's the Yankees' personal battering ram. So, we'll see what happens. But I think this should be a very, very fun season for Yankees fans. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to invite you to subscribe and rate this podcast. And please tune in to the YouTube channel. Just look up NYY Recaps podcast. And I post different videos, multiple times per week. I think this week I did 4 or 5 videos. I did outlooks on several different players, Tanaka, Stanton, Voit, DJ LeMahieu, who I think is going to have a big year. So look forward to seeing you there. And join me next week. I will be back to talk about the first week of spring training, and I'll see you next time.